Uh, a very good evening to all of you and a warm welcome on behalf of the continuing professional committee of ICI in today's webinar on two very diverse topics, active listening skills to make true connections and the importance of IND AS. At the outset, on behalf of all of you, I'd like to thank the chairman and the vice chairman of the CP committee, CA Purushottam Khandelwal and CA Gyanchand Mishra ji, for arranging this all-important workshop. And I'm sure that this workshop will be of immense use to the participants. Something about the CP committee. The accounting profession is undergoing a transformation worldwide. With the changes in the global arena, the role of the chartered accountants has gained more significance over the years. Today, business and society cannot visualize itself without the profession of chartered accountancy. To ensure our members to maintain high ethical standards in providing continuous professional services, the CP Committee of ICI is undertaking relentless efforts to impact and equip its members with the relevant technical knowledge in the form of conferences, seminars, lectures, workshops, webcasts to hone their professional skills. Today, we have with us the Vice Chairman, C. Gyanchand Mishra of the CPE Committee. And as you all are aware, Shri Gyanchand Mishra ji is the Vice Chairman of the CP Committee and the Chairman of the Committee on Insolvency and Bankruptcy of ICI. Presently, he is serving the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India as a Central Council member and convener tender monitoring system of ICI. He has more than 24 years of professional standing to his credit, and as an established chartered accountant under his vision, this year the CP committee is taking new initiative for the members. And I very humbly request Shri Gyanchand Mishra ji for his opening remarks and deliberations. Gyanchand Mishra ji, please.
So thank you, CA Mohit Tandon ji, Chairman of Bareilly branch, moderator of the today's program, and another moderator of the today's program, CA Satish ji, Vice Chairman of Noida branch. Two very distinguished speakers on certainly very topics, CA Ashish Pathak ji, who shall be deliberating on importance of IND AS, and the other very learned speaker who is joining from Melbourne, Australia, to deliberate on active listening skills to make true connections. Secretary of the committee, Ajitnath Tiwari ji, officers of the institute, and of course, all the respected participants. Good afternoon to one and all. Friends, we all know that the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India is biggest accounting body, not in terms of number, but in terms of delivery, in terms of hallmarks we have established across the society in economic growth. Friends, the CPE committee is one of the very important committee of the institute. We can say mother of all committees, where we regulate the CPERs for the chartered accountants, whether in practice or in service. And this is the program on every Wednesday that we conduct 2 hours program on 2 topics. So today again it's Wednesday and we are meeting virtually on 2 varied topics, which is really important. One, to how have true connections to the active listening skill, and the other one, importance of IND AS. Friends, you see, these 2 topics are very close to heart of all the persons. IND AS, probably requirement for a professional as of now to come up to the skill set required as of now. And the other one topic to be deliberated by Saraj ji, which is related to the active listening skills to make true connections. So well said by someone that in order to earn something, you have to listen. So how to listen and how to absorb and what would be the probable result of the same, that is to be discussed by Saraj ji, and the another topic is self-explanatory to be taken by Ashish ji. I'm sure that the virtual programs being conducted by the committee are useful to one and all, and I request as I keep on doing in each and every webinar, that please come as resource person if you want to, have some deliberation, discussion, and knowledge sharing to the professionals at large. So please come as resource person, as moderator, as writer, whatever you think that you can do the best at your end. To the committee, you can write to Ajitnath Tiwari ji, very respected secretary. He takes care each and every mail, and I'm sure that certainly the new faces for the professional updations and skill development is required, and each and every contribution to the committee shall be, duly acknowledged by us. And I'll not take much time. I once again compliment to the committee for taking wonderful initiative by Ajitnath Tiwari ji. And friends, the time has come when we have to learn a lot, because learning is only base by which we can justify our position as a professional to the society, to the economy, to the globe at large. So without taking much time, I wish all of you a very happy learning, and I'm sure that we shall be contributing as a professional to the nation, to the economy, and to the globe. And of course, most importantly, to the sustainability. After being educated, sustainability is very important to the sustainability at large. So thank you, both respected moderators and both respected speakers, and of course, to the respected, worthy listeners who have joined the program. So thank you, Mohit Bhai, and I request you to take the program ahead.
Thank you, Gyanbhai, for your welcome address and deliberation. I hope the listeners will enjoy today's seminar. Friends, our keynote speaker for the first topic, Mr. Sharad Patel, is joining us from Melbourne, Australia, which has been a happy hunting ground for the men's cricket team of late. Sharad ji started building Skitter team and technology in 2019 to create an interactive self-learning platform for skilling and employability. He has developed an
Mohit ji,
intimate... Yeah,
I would like to submit it. Just I got a message. There is some connectivity issue at his end. Just he is
Okay.
trying to fix it up. So, sir, meanwhile, we may start with the second session first with Ashish Pathak ji.
Yeah, fair enough, Ajit ji. I mean, if
Okay,
Ashish
sir.
ji is here,
So,
uh,
do you have, sir? Would you like to brief about him, or should I, Mohit ji?
sir, I
About
request
Ashish
you
ji.
because I don't have his.
Okay, it's all right, sir. It's all right. So, for dear participant, due to some technical glitch at the end of Mr. Sharad Patel, just he is trying to join, but some issues, so he's trying to fix it up.
He's
Sorry.
there now, sir.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I'm just going to use my
Sorry, Ashish ji.
Never mind, sir. Never mind. I'm here.
my
So it's
sincerest
all right.
apologies, gentlemen
Uh,
and ladies. So, look, with that said, I will. Can you hear me now, or yes?
Sharad ji, still there is a bit of a vibration, or maybe your bandwidth is a bit low. So,
Okay. Let me do one thing. I'm going to just switch to the mobile. So you probably might have to excuse me. I might not be able to share a PPT unless I have sent the PPT across. If someone can share, that'd be great.
I think if Jayesh you switch off your video, only audio should come.
Okay. Okay. I guess.
can we do one thing, sir? Can we, Jayesh ji? Meanwhile, sir, we can try to fix it up from back end, the Sharad ji session. We will, try and test at another platform meanwhile. I think better, because the connectivity without, video, that would be, pretty difficult to connect for the participant without video.
correct.
So, just, Jayesh, Sharad ji, it's a request, we will connect with you at some different platform right now for testing separately. And we can start your session at 4 o'clock after Ashish's session. We can reschedule. I think that's better right now. Mohit ji
Yeah,
and
it's
Nasi ji.
perfectly okay. Yeah,
है
perfectly.
ना जय जी what we will do है ना just we will test your session with a different platform for some time. Meanwhile we are starting with Ashish's session, importance of Ind AS, because still your video is distorted, so it's difficult for participant also to connect. So going with C. Ashish Pathak ji, we have with us, who will be taking the session on importance of Ind AS. He is a fellow member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, first class commerce and law graduate from University of Lucknow, and he has more than 18 years of experience in teaching at various levels and 15-year post qualification experience in handling matters of auditing, accounting, and taxation. He is a visiting faculty at various colleges and universities like National Institute of Fashion Technology (NIFT), Raebareli, and Institute of Engineering Lucknow. He was the chairman of Lucknow branch of CIRC and also appointed as treasurer of Lucknow branch in year 2021-22. So now I would request Ashish Pathak ji to take the session on the importance of India. And I am also handing over this stage to Mohit ji for further proceedings. Thank you, Mohit ji. Meanwhile, we are testing with Sharad ji.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
no issue.
Thank you, Ajit ji. Thank you, Ajit ji. First of all, before we start our deliberation, I would like to thank the CP committee chairman and vice chairman, and of course Secretary Ajit ji, Mohit ji, and I think my moderators have now switched to Mohit Tandon ji. A very good afternoon to all of you. I think I am audible and
Yeah, you are perfectly
my
audible, sir.
video is also very perfect.
Yeah, yeah, perfectly.
So Mohit ji, the topic given to me is I think in our practical scenario and nowadays what is happening to our profession, it is very, very, very important to know what is Ind AS, actually what is Ind AS, and what its importance nowadays for our professional brothers. From our study time, we all study about accounting standards, and we know all of them, all the chartered accountants are very versed with the term accounting standard. But there is a big difference between accounting standard and Ind AS. Now, before I start my PPT, slightly 2-3 examples which I've quote to our audience. The difference between AS and Ind AS is that AS is being formulated by our institute and which is being applied by business class, business society till 2005. But after 2005, when WTO signatory, our India became the WTO signatory, and they have agreed that they will follow all the global acceptable standards which are applied globally and termed as IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standards. Now, once the India has been accepted at global level that they will accept the IFRS, and all the business houses which are being in India, they will apply these standards. So there is a very big difference between the IFRS and our accounting standard at that time. So the committee under the MCA guidance has been formed, which has issued, which has taken care the environment which are locally present in India, and on that basis they have formulated some conversions between the IFRS to our Indian environment accounting standards. So these Indian accounting standards is now being applicable to many companies in phase wise. So let us understand how these Indian accounting standards come into force. I'll share my PPT. Mohit, just see. PPT is on screen or not? Moiji, you are muted.
Not yet, sir. Not yet, sir.
Yes, now?
Yeah. It is visible now, sir. Perfectly okay.
Thank you. Moiji, if you permit, so I can in between speak in Hindi also, because as per the direction, we have to deliberate
Sir.
in only English.
No, no, it's perfectly fine, sir. Well, as for your convenience, sir.
Okay. The Indian Accounting Standard, as notified under Section 133 of Companies Act 2013, which have been formulated keeping the Indian economic and legal environment in view. Now, this is very important कि when we accepted the IFRS, so we are become कि we have to apply IFRS by word, but this thing has been changed क्योंकि हम जान रहे हैं कि हमारा जो इंडियन इकोनॉमिक एनवायरनमेंट है वो डिफरेंट है जो फॉरेन का इंडियन इकोनॉमिक एनवायरनमेंट है। तो इसलिए हम लोगों ने IFRS को ध्यान में रखते हुए अपने स्टैंडर्ड्स में परिवर्तन किया और हमने इंडियन जो अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं वो बनाए with the converse of IFRS standard. Yes, we have maintained the same. We have maintained the rules, regulations which are framed as per as IFRS, but we have made our Indian environment accounting standards. Now, मैं अभी शुरू करूं उससे पहले एक दो बातें और मैं आपसे शेयर कर लूं कि हम जब अपने आर्टिकलशिप के दौरान होते थे तो बड़े बातें हम सुनते थे कि जो प्रैक्टिस में किया जाता है और जो किताबों में लिखा है वो दोनों बड़े डिफरेंट बातें। मोहित जी, हम लोग ये बहुत बार सुनते थे कि किताबों में तो कुछ और लिखा हुआ है और जब हम प्रैक्टिस में आते हैं तो वो डिफरेंट है। और एक ऐसी टेंडेंसी, एक ऐसी मानसिकता हम लोगों में बन गई कि देयर इज अ बिग डिफरेंस बिटवीन कथनी और करनी। जो लिखा हुआ है वो डिफरेंट है और जो हम प्रैक्टिकल कर रहे हैं वो डिफरेंट। बट मेरी बात को आप विश्वास से सुनिए कि आज के दिन जो हुआ है वो यही हुआ है। आज जो इतने सारे इश्यूज चल रहे हैं, हम कभी पीयर रिव्यू की बात करते हैं या हम कभी देखते हैं कि नफरा हमारे ऊपर कुछ कार्रवाई कर रहा है, तो वो सब इसीलिए है कि आज जो चीज कानून में लिखा गया है हमसे कहा जा रहा है बिल्कुल शब्दता आप उसी को पालन करें। हम अगर वो नहीं कर रहे थे तो आज हमसे वो पालन करवाया जा रहा है, चाहे वो हमारे स्टैंडर्ड्स हों, चाहे वो रूल्स हों, चाहे वो कंपनी एक्ट से रूल्स हों, आज हमसे पालन करवाया जा रहा है। तो मैं आज का टॉपिक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, बहुत ध्यान से समझिएगा कि हम छोटी छोटी गलतियां जो कर रहे हैं उससे हमें क्या क्या आज कार्रवाई का फेस करना पड़ रहा है, चाहे वो हमारी डिसिप्लिनरी कमेटी के द्वारा हो, चाहे किसी और के द्वारा हो। हम जो फेस कर रहे हैं कंसिक्वेंसेस, वो अभी मैं आपको एग्जांपल के साथ सारी चीजें बता रहा हूँ। तो सबसे पहले हम जब एप्लीकेबिलिटी ऑफ IND AS की बात करते हैं तो ये आखिर IND AS हमें कहाँ से मिला, उसका रूल, उसका बैकअप पॉइंट हमको कहाँ से मिलता है? वो मिलता है हमें in exercise of the power confirmed by section 133 when we read it with section 469 of the Companies Act 2013, the central government in consultation with the National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standard hereby makes the rule which is named as Companies Indian Accounting Standard Rule 2015. तो 2015 में हमने या गवर्नमेंट ने एक कंपनीज इंडियन अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड रूल 2015 फ्रेम किया, जो कि सारे IND AS बनाएगा या जो IFRS और हमारे पास जो एग्जिस्टिंग अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं उसमें कैसे चेंजेस करके हम उसे IFRS के स्टैंडर्ड्स का बनाएंगे, उसको नोटिफाई करने का काम ये कंपनीज इंडियन अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड रूल 2015 में करा गया है। इसके एनेक्सर्स में आज की डेट में जितने भी IND AS एप्लीकेबल हैं वो सारे के सारे आपको इसी रूल्स के अंतर्गत मिलेंगे. As per the company's Indian Accounting Standard Rule 2015, the companies and their auditor. Now, one thing which is very important, listeners, आपको बहुत ध्यान से मैं कुछ बातें जो बताना चाहता हूं उसको आप नोट भी करिए और ध्यान से इन बातों को सुनिएगा. हमें ऐसा लगता है, एक जनरल परसेप्शन ऐसा है कि जो अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं ये उनके लिए एप्लीकेबल हैं जो बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स मेंटेन कर रहे हैं, जो बना रहे हैं. ये सिर्फ हमें ऐसा लगता है कि ये जो कंपनी का मैनेजमेंट है, जिसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट को बनाना, अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स फॉलो करना उन्हीं की जिम्मेदारी है. लेकिन मैं आपको साफ साफ ये बता दूं कि जो कंपनी एक्ट है उसमें ये जो रूल है, कंपनी इंडियन अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड रूल, उसमें साफ साफ लिखा गया है, बहुत ध्यान से सुनिएगा, मैंने हाईलाइट करा है वो बातें. द कंपनीज एंड देयर ऑडिटर्स. नाउ ऑडिटर इज एन इंडिपेंडेंट पर्सन. It is different with the company. The companies and their auditor shall comply with the Indian accounting standard, that is IND AS, is specified in annexure to these rule in, mark my word, in preparation of their financial statements and audit respectively. Now what it means? It means कि Indian accounting standards is not only applicable for those businessmen who are preparing their financial statement, as well as for the auditors who are conducting audit of that particular company or any company. तो ये जो रूल्स हैं, ये अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स के जो रूल्स हैं, वो ना सिर्फ कंपनी को, कंपनी के साथ साथ ये ऑडिटर्स को भी बराबर के एप्लीकेबल हैं.
Ashish, if I can just interrupt you for a second. Actually, a lot of listeners which have joined this webinar, they come from across the country, and they might not be so much conversant of the vernacular language, Hindi language.
Okay.
If I may just very humbly
Yes.
request you to.
Yes. Why not?
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Now, very important point. Nahi, Mohit ji, thank you. The very important point is that we generally know that the Indian accounting standard is applicable only to those companies who prepare their financial statement. But the thing which I want to emphasize is that not only the company who are preparing the balance sheets, who are preparing the financial statement, these IND AS are applicable to those companies, but as well as the auditors who are conducting the audit. They also have to comply with these rules which are made under Companies Indian Accounting Standards Rule 2015. Again, I am emphasizing these rules are applicable not only for the companies, these are also applicable to the auditors as well. So these rule regarding Indian accounting standard has to comply with these two persons, means auditee as well as auditor. Now, as per our Company Act, why we say कि financial statements and why we say these IND AS are applicable? As per section 128(1) of Companies Act 2013, every company, mark my words, every company, whether it is a private or a public, every company shall prepare and keep at its registered office books of accounts and other relevant books and papers and financial statement. Now, what is the meaning of financial statement? Financial statement comprises of 5 statements, which is balance sheet, our income statement, our statement of cash flow, our statement showing changes in equity, and notes to account. These 5 comprises of financial statement. So the other relevant books and papers and financial statement of every financial year, which gives a true and fair view of the state of the affairs of the company, including that of its branch office or offices, if any. So as per section 128(1), every company, whether it is a private company, public company, foreign company, government company, every company has to prepare its books of account, and they have to keep it at their registered office financial statement for every financial year, which gives a true and fair view of the state of the affairs of the company. Now, as per section 129(1), I am just briefing you what is the legal backup behind IND AS and why we are not following this. And if we are not following this, we are in a big trouble. Maximum cases, I am quoting 3-4 cases in this my presentation. You will see कि only because of not complying with the Indian accounting standard, because we are not seeing these provision seriously, we are facing the consequences. As per section 129(1) of Companies Act 2013, the financial statement shall give a true and fair view. Now, this concept, the true and fair view, is a very big concept. The financial statement shall give a true and fair view of the state of the affairs of the company or companies, comply with the accounting standards which are notified under section 133. Now, if we are saying as per section 129, the companies have to prepare the financial statement which shall give a true and fair view. Now, if being an auditor, we are saying that the financial statement are true and fair view, this can be said only by the auditor if we comply with the accounting standards which are notified under section 133. What it means? It means if any company who are not complying with the accounting standards which are notified under section 133, it means they are not following the provision which are set by the Companies Act 2013. And we have to give the report accordingly. So we have to assure that the company which are being under audit by ourselves, they will comply with the accounting standards which are notified under section 133 and shall be in the form as may be provided for the different class of the companies in schedule 3, provided that the items contained in such financial statement shall in accordance with the accounting standard. What it means कि our financial statement, whether I have just explained you that the financial statement comprises of, it is a balance sheet, it is the statement of affair which we say, and the statement of our income, our cash flow statement, our the statement which is showing changes in equity, and at the last the notes to account. These all should be followed. These all should be followed as per the AS accounting standards, which are notified as IND AS. Now, before we go to start our case laws and other things, the very important and very hot topic is, as per Companies Act section 132, NAFRA is being constituted. Now, NAFRA is National Financial Reporting Authority. We all know that many powers of the institute has been vested to the NAFRA as far as disciplinary mechanism is concerned. The central government may, by notification, I am reading just section, you get the backup of the institute, get the backup of this authority which is being made. The central government may, by notification, constitute a National Financial Reporting Authority to provide for the matters relating to accounting and auditing standard. Make it very clear that the NAFRA to provide for the matters relating to accounting and auditing standards under this act. Now the NAFRA will design, NAFRA will guide the government relating to the standards which are for accounting as well as for auditing. The National Financial Reporting Authority shall perform its function through such divisions as may be prescribed. Now the para start with the notwithstanding anything contained in any other law. Now we all know if the word is written notwithstanding anything contained in any other law, for the time being in force in India or any other act. This is a overriding provision, and NAFRA has given a superpower by this section, notwithstanding anything contained in any other law for the time being in force. The National Financial Reporting Authority shall make, number one, what NAFRA will do? NAFRA will make recommendation to the central government on the formulation and laying down of accounting and auditing policies and standards for adoption by companies or class of companies or their auditor, as the case may be. Now, NAFRA will make the recommendation to the central government regarding what? Regarding the formulation, laying down of accounting, as well as auditing policies and standard for adoption by the companies or the class of companies or their auditor, as the case may be. Now, not only recommendation, just see, NAFRA not only recommend to the central government regarding these formulation, they are also monitor. They have to monitor and enforce the compliance with the accounting standards and in such manner as may be prescribed. Now, the compliance part and the enforceability of that compliance is also vested with the NAFRA. This is very important thing. Third point, the third power which has been given by the NAFRA, given to NAFRA by the our legislature, oversee the quality of service of the profession associated with ensuring compliance with such standards and suggest measure required for improvement in quality of service and such other related matter as may be prescribed. Now, this point number C is very important. Not only they are saying the auditor is being complying the Indian accounting standards, yeah, or other things, but they are also saying our quality of service of the professions. So our quality is being now monitored by the NAFRA. Okay, how we have performed. We have ICI has a one board that is known as Quality Review Board, QRB. Now, what QRB is doing many balance sheets or financial statement which are filed with the MCA, they pick and choose some of the financial statement, review them regarding the quality, and then report to ICI. Now, the QRB is being monitored by NAFRA. Now, NAFRA is saying we will see what is the professionals are doing. They are reviewing our work. And not only our work, our quality. The basic change is our quality. And the D is perform such other functions relating to clause A, B, and C as may be prescribed. So I have read this 132 before giving you the overview of IND AS, because NAFRA is now a superpower body and they are monitoring auditors. They are monitoring if we are complying with these accounting standards or not. We are maintaining the quality of service or not. Now, again, I am saying that it is the main responsibility, the company who are preparing their financial statement. Yes, Indian accounting standard or IFRS is being followed by those who are preparing the financial statement. So as per section 134(3), there is a responsibility of director for preparing the books, for preparing the financial statement. So according to section 134(3)(c) and section 134(5) of the Act, director's reports must contain the statement regarding the responsibility of director. What is the responsibility of director? What is the responsibility of board? It contains the following particulars. Accounting standard that has been followed while preparing the annual account as given under section 134(5)(a). If these are not followed, please note it down. If these are not followed properly, then the report must contain an explanation as to why they were not followed. Now the director has to give his report, as we say, DRS, Director Responsibility Report statement. In that report, he has to mention whether the accounting standard is being properly followed or not. And if they are not followed, why? They have to give a clear-cut explanation. So the management is also has a responsibility to follow the Indian accounting standard. Now, what is our duty? Now, duties of auditor. I am saying that these are two similar peers are as far as the compliance of this IND AS is concerned. Not only auditee, but auditor has to also comply. As per section 143.3, where there is a duties of auditor. As per section 143.3 of the Companies Act 2013, the auditor's report shall also state whether he has sought and obtained all the information and explanation which is to the best of his knowledge and belief were necessary for the purpose of his audit. The 143.3 has many provisions, but one thing which I have to highlight, that what is the duty of the auditor as per section 143.3, point number E, which I have highlighted, whether in his opinion the financial statement comply with the accounting standard or not. It is our duty. It is the duty of the auditor to give the report. Report means his opinion, whether the financial statement comply with the accounting standard or not. So it is the part of the duty of the auditor. You have to give the report on the compliance of Indian accounting standard. Now there is the duty of the management to prepare, and if they are not preparing their financial statement as per the IND AS, they have to report. The director has to report. And there is a duty for the auditor also. If the company is not following the accounting standard, they are also duty bound to report in their auditor's report. Now both, if there is a contravention, neither the company is complying nor the auditor is being compliant. So there is a punishment. If we contravene these sections, the company is not complying, then read. If any provision of section 139 to 146 is contravened, the company shall be punishable with a fine which shall not be less than 25,000 rupees, but which may be extended to 5 lakh rupees, and every officer of the company who is in default shall be punishable. Now, I have strike off certain words. Earlier in 2013, when this act has been came, there is a provision for imprisonment also. But in the 2020 amendment, this imprisonment provision has been struck off. Earlier, if accounting standards are not being followed by the company or the auditor, there is a provision that the person has to go in prison. There is a concept, there is a law, you have to be in prison for a term which may be extended to 1 year. But now it is being removed. Or with a fine which shall not be less than 10,000 rupees, but which may be extended to 1 lakh rupees. Now the second point is for the auditor. If an auditor of the company contravenes any provision of section 139, that's the duty of the auditor. Section 144. Now, again, it is being struck off 143. Earlier, it was 143 was there. Section 144, section 145, the auditor shall be punishable with a fine which shall not be less than 25,000 rupees, but which may be extended to 5 lakh rupees or 4 times the remuneration of the auditor, whichever is less. Now, what I am trying to say is that these provisions, before we go to study the IND AS and all, rightly there, now 42 IND AS is being notified by the government, notified by the rules. We study one by one each of the accounting standard, but before we study accounting standard, we should know the provisions behind that. If the accounting standard is not being followed either by the company or by the auditor, what the consequences we have to face. Now, the Indian accounting standard is being applicable phase-wise. There are mainly 4 phases of the applicability of Indian accounting standard. These phases are applicable on the basis of net worth and listing status of the company. These phases are divided by the MCA, and they are gradually, with the passage of period, being applicable to different types of entity. Now, these AS has been applied to different entities on the basis of their net worth. This IND AS rules have been made in 2015, and phases wise it is being applicable to different sizes of company. The first phase is being applied from 1st of April 2016, and it is applicable only for those companies. Let me read it. In the first phase, this IND AS applies to all the listed companies and the companies that are in progress to be listed. Not only to the listed companies, if they had made an application for the listing, they have to comply with these standards. These Indian accounting standards are applicable to companies that have a net worth of 500 crores or more. Now, it is applicable to 3 types of companies: the companies who are listed, the companies who are in progress of listing as on 1st of April 2006, and the net worth of the companies, those companies who have 500 crores or more. One thing to clarify is that the net worth using the figures of previous 3 financial years, that is 2014, 15, and 16. These 3 average, we will calculate the net worth average of these 3 financial years. And if it is 500 crore or more, then our phase 1 companies will have to apply these IND AS. Now, phase 2, that will be applicable from 1st of April 2017 onward. This phase started from the financial year 2017 and became compulsory for all the listed companies and the companies that are in progress to be listed, or the companies which are on the Stock Exchange of India that were not included in phase 1. And all the companies having a net worth value of 250 crores and more, but less than 500 crores, have to adopt the IND AS according to this phase. Now, the second phase, which is being applied on from 1st of April 2017 onwards, these companies having net worth of 250 crores or more, but less than 500 crores, they have to adopt IND AS. One thing to be noted that in the first phase, the net worth is taken as the average of last 3 years. But in this phase, you have to take the net worth of last 4 years, including 31st of March 2017. And if they are more than 250 crores, but less than 500 crores, those companies have to apply with, those companies have to follow the Indian accounting standard. Now, the third phase, which is from 1st of April 2018 onwards, Indian accounting standards became mandatorily applicable to all the banks, NBFCs, and insurance companies with effect from 1st of April 2018, provided that the net worth should be more than or equal to 500 crores with effect from 1st of April 2018. Now, one thing to be noticed that we all know the financial statement of the company, how we have to prepare, is being mentioned in schedule of the company 3. But for banking companies and for insurance company, they have a separate act where they give the framework how the financial statement is being prepared by the banking company and insurance company. So IRDA has notified a separate set of IND AS for banking and insurance company with effect from 1st of April 2018. Core investment companies, stockbroker, venture capitalists, etc., are to be included in the NBFC. Now they have to calculate with again 3 years net worth. And the phase 4, which is 1st of April 2019 onward, from 1st April 19 onward, it is mandatory to be followed by all the NBFCs having the net worth of more than or equal to 250 crore, but should be less than 500 crore. Now this phase is being applicable to all the NBFCs. Now these 4 phases means we can say कि 1st April 2019 onward, IND AS is applicable for these all companies, and they have to comply with these standards. 2-3 points which everyone has to note. कि companies can follow IND AS either voluntarily or mandatory, but once the company starts, very important point, once the company starts following IND AS, it cannot revert back to its old method of accounting. What it means that once they are following IND AS because of the net worth limit, if the net worth comes down, then also they have to follow these Indian accounting standards. Once IND AS become applicable to a company, then it shall be automatically applied to all its subsidiaries, holding company, associate company, and joint ventures, irrespective of the individual qualification of the companies. Now, what is the meaning of net worth? I have explained it. In net worth is total paid up capital, all reserve out of profits and security premium, reduced by accumulated loss and deferred expenditure, miscellaneous expenditure, which are not written. Now, before I am going to say, let's before we are going for the learning of IND AS, let us discuss some case laws, which is being under the purview of NAFRA. Let me give you some quotes, some case laws. One. Is it visible, Mohit ji?
Perfectly visible, sir.
The order is visible or not? Mohit ji?
Yes, it is visible, sir. Order is also visible.
Now, this case,
आशीष जी विजिबल है, प्रॉपर है,
हाँ।
क्लियर, ऑडिबल।
ऑर्डर पूरा दिख रहा है ना सर?
हाँ सर, हाँ अभी सर लिस्ट ऑफ IND AS दिख रहा है हमें।
हाँ, लिस्ट ऑफ IND AS 1 to 12.
हाँ
1 minute, sir. 1 minute. सर केस दिख रहा है ना आपको? ये अभी 21 जून 2022 को एक केस डिसाइड हुआ है।
सर इट इज ओनली शोइंग द लिंक, अभी केस नहीं दिख रहा है सर, वो लिंक दिख रहा है टेक्स्ट ग्रुप।
अच्छा, लिंक नहीं आ रहा है मेरे ख्याल से, है ना?
हाँ, वी आर नॉट एबल टू सी द केस एज सच।
अच्छा, वैसे मेरे स्क्रीन पर ये दिख रहा है, तो मुझे लग रहा है मैं एक बार फिर से इसको रिकनेक्ट करूं। सर इट इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट केस। अब आया है सर स्क्रीन पे?
अभी तो नहीं आया सर।
स्क्रीन नहीं दिखा।
मैं केस को रीड कर देता हूँ,
हाँ
अगर नहीं आ रहा है तो भी मैं केस को रीड कर देता हूँ. This case was recently decided on 21st of June 2022 against a chartered accountant, and he is a very newly qualified chartered accountant. Now, what is the case is that there was a company named Prabhu Steel Industry Limited. It is a listed company, and the CA has been charged with the professional misconduct. Now, what was the misconduct which he has done? The misconduct is that PSIL is the company. I am reading from the case because you are not able to see.
Yes, sir.
I'm just reading from the case. PSIL is a company listed in Bombay Stock Exchange as on 31st of March 2020, and therefore, as per Rule 4 of the companies, that is Indian Accounting Standard Rule 2015, it is required to comply with the Indian Accounting Standard. Means the company has to follow the Indian Accounting Standard as per the rules. But what the CA has done, CA has issued an unmodified report on the financial statement of the company for the year 2019-20, stating that, in our opinion, in the opinion of the auditor, the financial statement are showing true and fair view. But the financial statement are not prepared as per the framework designed by the Indian Accounting Standards rules. And the case has been decided against the auditor. And see, I am just, because you are not able to see it, I think if you can search it on Google, this case was against CA Gulshan Jagdish Jham versus this company, Prabhu Steel Industries Limited. And this case was very recently decided. And what is the penalty? I'm just giving you कि हाँ, the CA Gulshan committed the professional misconduct as defined by section so and so, and CA is guilty of professional misconduct, and he has been debarred from the practice for 2 years. 2 साल के लिए उसे डिबार्ड कर दिया गया practice, only because of one misconduct, that is IND AS has not been followed. So there is a very, very big consequences. And another one thing, imposing a penalty of 1 lakh rupees and debarring from the members' practice from 2 years. These 3 consequences he has faced. And not only this, I have one more case. Again, in that case also, they have been very strict regarding the compliance of Indian accounting standard. So what I want to say you, कि nowadays it is very tough. It is very, very stringent rules that the regulators are watching. The regulators are seeing that the auditor or the professional has to follow these rules, these notifications, these circular by word. And if we are not complying, हम accounting standard जानते नहीं जानते वो अलग चीज है, हमें comply करना है. और अगर हम comply नहीं कर रहे हैं तो आज की डेट में we have to, if we are not complying with the terms of IND AS, we have to face the consequence. We have to face the consequence. All professional brothers should note it down. Now I have a list of IND AS. IND AS 1012. We have 42 standards which is being notified by the government in consultation with the NAFRA. There are some new standards which are earlier in our accounting standard, they are not covered, but many of them are covered by our previous accounting standards. So I think Mohit ji,
Yes, sir.
if you say, so I'll brief one or two standard, and then we'll take any questions if there is.
Well, there are two questions with us.
Yes.
If you want,
Yes. Why not? Yes.
Sir, first question is Indian AS applicable to non-corporate entities like LLP, partnership firm, etc.?
Sir, as of now, these are applicable to companies.
It means you mean to say that it's not applicable to the non-corporate companies,
Yes.
non-corporate entities. Yes.
Yes.
And the second question which we have received is, if Indian AS applies to company A, wherein the directors of the company A are also the directors of the company B, will Indian AS will be applicable to the company B also?
No. I have mentioned this in my slide. This is once Ind AS is become applicable to a company, then it shall automatically apply to all its subsidiaries, holding, associates, and joint venture. It doesn't cover ki one director is of one company and another director of another company. That company cannot be said to be in purview of Ind AS only because they have common director. If the company is in relation with the holding or subsidiary or an associate or a joint venture, then it is automatically applicable to that, irrespective of its net worth. Irrespective of its net worth.
Absolutely fine, sir. Ajit ji, if we have time in hand, then we can ask Ashish ji to take up one of the Ind AS, or what is the timeline now?
I think Ajit ji is.
He's on mute. Maybe you can take it for at least one standard of which is of
Yes,
utmost
Mohit ji.
importance. I was just asking upon the time. Do we have some time in hand? Ashish ji likes to take one or two important AS.
Sir, for how much time, Ashish ji? For approximately
5 minutes, sir. Give me 5
It's
minutes.
all right. It's all right.
Please
Sir.
carry on, sir. Please
I mean,
carry on.
listening to you, of course, it's a very good experience for us, but it's not an issue, sir. We can extend.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Please continue, sir.
So before we are going to study the Ind AS, we should know how we have to read these Ind AS. This is very, very, very important. How we have to read these standards. Generally, all the standard is being classified in these heads. First is the objective. We should know why this particular standard came into force. What is the objective? What is the purpose behind that? This objective is itself in the accounting standard. At the start of every Indian accounting standard, there is a clear-cut objective why this standard came into force. Second thing is scope. Now, what is the meaning of scope? I define in a one word, it's the limitation. It is the limit. This particular AS which we are going to study has how much boundaries. Beyond that, we have not to, no, we do not have to go beyond the limits of that particular AS. Say, for example, I am saying there is an AS, AS2, inventories, relating to inventories and its valuation. So it specifically says that when there is a financial instrument, where there is an inventory relating to financial instrument, that will be dealt by another Indian accounting standard. So what it means is they have limited, we don't have to focus on financial instrument inventories. The second part, is scope. In that scope, we will again see the recognition principles, derecognition principles, and the measurement, how we have to value and all and all. And at the last, which we have to be very careful about this, because at the end of each IND AS, there is a paragraph of presentation and disclosure. Now, this presentation and disclosure is a very important part. Because of this presentation and disclosure, we come to conclude that the financial statements are showing true and fair view. So when we read or when we study any of the IND AS, we have to study in these three classification, three class. One is why this AS has been come into force and what is the scope, what is the limitations behind that particular AS, and the third part is presentation and disclosure requirement. Now I am taking 1 and 2 AS very quickly. IND AS 1, that is preparation of financial statement. Again, we have to know one case study which I want to just share with you. One chartered accountant is being found guilty of professional misconduct by the NAFRA very recently in April 2023, because he has not attached cash flow statement. Now we say cash flow statement as a statement of cash flow. Mohit ji, in a very recently, April 2023, 1 month back, our chartered accountant found guilty of professional misconduct only because of the fact that he has not attached cash flow statement with the financial statement. The only fact is that. So we have to know what is the financial statement. The financial statement comprises of 5 elements. One is balance sheet, one is income statement, third is a statement of cash flow, fourth is a statement showing changes in equity. This is the very, very, very important statement. From the one financial year to another financial year, the changes in equity should be disclosed by a separate statement. And again, very, very important, very, very utmost important statement is notes to account. We generally emphasize on balance sheet and income statement, and we overlook the changes in equity statement and notes to account. Many of the professional misconduct is being done here. Notes to account is a very important statement. So what the IND AS 1 is saying, I am just have given some bullets point, because I think IND AS 1 is of 40 or 45 odd pages. I have bulleted some points. IND AS sets the basis of presentation of general purpose financial statement to ensure dual comparability. You're not the dual comparability both with the entity's financial statement of the previous and current period, along with the financial statement of their peers. Now, what we are saying, we are preparing financial statement not only for the current financial year, but also because of comparison factor of previous year, comparing both current and previous period. This is being prescribed as per IND AS. Now, if, say for example, if we make the default, if we are not making the financial statement comparability with 2 years, then we are making the default of IND AS 1. Second point is that, which is given in this AS, unless management intends to liquidate the entity or ceases trading, financial statements are prepared only on going concern basis. बचपन से पढ़ते चले आ रहे हैं, going concern, going concern, going concern. यहाँ I would like to emphasize one point. There is a one case study. The case has been decided by the NAFRA. कि a company consistently having loss for 5 years, consistently having loss and loss and loss and loss. Nafra has asked the auditor, why you do not check going concern base? Why the company having so much of huge losses and they are maintaining their balance sheet on going concern basis? Why the auditor has not due diligently asked the management regarding these going concern base? Now, financial statements are prepared using the accrual basis of accounting except for cash flow information, and similar material items are grouped and presented separately. Dissimilar material items are presented separately. Unless required or permitted by an IND AS, assets and liabilities and income and expenses are not offset. This is very important factor. This was not written in our previous accounting standard. Unless required or permitted by the IND AS, assets and liabilities, generally what there is a debtor, there is a creditor, we generally set off debtors and creditors. No, this is not permitted. And income and expenses are not offset unless it is required. So I think, Mohit ji, I have taken my time, and Patel ji is, I think, joined.
Ashish ji, although we are running out of time, but there is a very small query. If you can very briefly just explain on Indian AS 115, the contract asset, if it is possible for you.
I think I can explain it, but it will take time.
Okay.
It
In
will
that
take-
case, we'll leave it for today,
Yes.
and we'll definitely can take it.
Yeah, I have requested to the committee, why not the committee is taking initiative, we will run a series of IND AS.
Right.
I have requested this to Ajit ji. I think
Maybe in the times to come, probably
Yes,
we
yes,
might
yes.
have
Yes,
that kind
yes,
of a discussion.
yes.
Thank you so much, Ashish ji, for your deliberation. I am absolutely sure that the audience must have gained a lot of knowledge from your experience and deliberations. Ajay ji, is our
Basically, sir, I have message to Chairman Sir Purushottam Kandwal ji. He
Right.
may join at later part of this webinar.
Okay.
So anyway, sir, we will continue with the second speaker. Thank you very much, Ashish ji, for even today we have switched the topic also, which was not as per the schedule. Anyway, sir, you have managed very well, and you have given your time. In fact, I can say, because early we have shifted to you. So thank you, Ashish ji, and we look forward for to you for taking another session in our forthcoming webinars or events. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mohit ji, we will start with second speaker, and the moderator, I think that he will moderator for next session.
Satish ji will be taking care of, or
For the next session,
yeah.
Satish ji.
Mohit, Mr. Tiwari, do you want me to? Sorry.
Satish ji.
Sir,
So, we are starting our next session. So, because we have shifted this session.
okay, sir. Okay.
First session was of Sharad ji. Due to some technical glitch, we have shifted to second session. So, yes, taking over the second session, I would request you to please proceed with the introduction of faculty. Do you have the biodata? That profile, Satish ji.
Ajit sir, just a second. There is a network glitch. I request give me 5 minutes only. There is a network glitch. May I request you to take the note of the same, sir?
It's all right, sir. Meanwhile, we are requesting Mohit ji.
Okay.
Because
So I'm thankful again to Mohit ji today. He take all the responsibility very well, sir. Mohit ji, please take the note for 5 minutes, please.
Sure.
It's all right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So, Mohit ji, again now, the things are on your shoulders, so you please proceed.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure, sir. Not at all.
Thank you, Mohit ji.
Thank you,
Friends,
Mohit ji.
we have amongst us Mr. Sharad Patel, who is joining us from Melbourne, Australia. I've already said that it's been a very happy hunting ground for the Indian cricket team of late. And we are really glad to have Mr. Sharad Patel amongst us. Just to share a few things about Sharadji, although his biodata is a bit long, but still I'll try to summarize in best possible way so that we can present him for his deliberation. Mr. Sharad started building SkyTag team and technology in 2019 to create an interactive self-learning platform for skilling and employability. He developed an intimate familiarity with artificial intelligence as a certified applied AI graduate and is currently integrating ChatGPT and other AI tools into their training platform to make skilling both highly retentive and transferable. He identifies his success in career and business to soft skills, first as an international student in Australia, and then through his career spanning across banking and telecommunications. Friends, without taking much of the time, may I request Sharad ji to please start his deliberation. Sharad ji, the house is on.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Am I audible? All right.
Yeah, you are audible, sir. You are good.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
audible, sir.
Okay, thank you. My sincerest apologies once again. I guess there has been some glitches, but nevertheless. So I am going to, and excuse me for probably what I'll do is for the better experience, I guess I'll stop video and I'll just use the audio. So that might make it a little better. So I will.
ऑफिस जा रहा हूँ
Sorry,
सामान दिलवाने में दिक्कत नहीं है पहले थोड़ी देर में कनेक्ट करता हूँ पहले मैं
Satish ji, if you can mute your audio, please. Satish ji.
Yes, he has. So there was a lawyer who bought a brand new Lexus. Now the lawyer obviously wanted to show off his Lexus, so he parked it outside his office. He wanted to show it off to his colleagues, his clients, and everyone around. As soon as he parks his Lexus, he gets there is a truck that is reversing. The truck comes in a full force and rips off the left-hand side of the car. Lawyer is naturally very, very upset. He's besides himself. He pulls out his phone and calls the police, and within minutes, there is a police officer who comes down. As soon as the police officer comes down, the lawyer just loses his calm, and he starts obviously being voicing his desperation. He starts screaming hysterically. He says, "This is a brand new Lexus. Do you know who I am? I'm a very successful lawyer, and look at what has happened. This guy has completely ruined my car, and I've just barely spent, a few $100,000 on this, and I am very, very, very upset." The police officer looks at the car, looks at the lawyer. He just shakes his head and he says, "I am not sure why do you have to. Why are you so successful? But at the same time, why do you have to be so focused on your success and your materialistic, I guess, achievements that you are completely ignoring more important things in life?" And the lawyer says, "What do you mean? Why are you saying this? Do you know how successful I am?" Once again, he repeats everything. And the police officer says that, "Actually, I just noticed that you have left on your left-hand side of your body, you've lost your arm beneath your elbow." And the lawyer turns around and says, "Oh my God, what about my Rolex?" So the point I'm trying to make here is active listening is a very, very important and most fundamental component of communication skills. So listening is something that does not, just happen. It's something which is a conscious decision and is made so that you can listen and understand the messages of the speaker. Now, active listening is just about patience. Listeners should not interrupt when there is questions or concerns, and it involves giving other person the time to explore their thoughts and feelings. As human beings, we spend a lot of time listening. I mean, the current studies, they say that on an average, a human being spends about 80 to 90% of their waking hours in some or the other form of communication. So naturally, if you look at the percentile, there is, about 10% is in writing, well, more so now because of, WhatsApp and, rest of the social media platforms. About 16% on reading, about 30 odd percent on speaking, and the remainder 50% is on listening. Now that's how important listening is. Studies also confirm that most of us are extremely poor and inefficient listeners. So most of us are not very good at listening, and the research says that actually even less than 50% of what we hear we listen to in a conversation. So that explaining a little bit about what are the benefits of active listening. And before I go into that, I'm just going on a quick story, my personal experience. So as I was mentioning to separate entities, and they'll both now Dom is a typical people's person. So Dom's chartered accountancy practice is proliferating. He's most of the times he's on the golf course. He's either in Singapore, he's continuously expounding
Ajit, it appears that Sharad ji has once again been disconnected.
there are some network issues, disruption. So we may wait for some 2-3 minutes. Meanwhile, that Mr. Sharad is joining. Mohitji,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
we may wait for some 2-3 minutes, so that
Yeah.
meantime if he's joining, because we are fixing up the issue at back end.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Sorry, can you hear me once again?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir. There are some disruptions, so
Ajit ji, there is something called
pardon me, Ji. Sharad ji.
sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
Yes, you are audible, sir. Please carry on.
Okay. I'm saying there is some law as it says the worst that happen has to happen.
Voice is tracking.
Sorry, can you hear me once again?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Um, I was saying sorry. It's the Murphy's law. Whatever worst has to happen has to happen. So I'll continue with my saga. So I was talking about Dom. So typically Dom, once again, as I was mentioning, he's a very people's person. I've got another accountant. His name is Richard. He's an English gentleman. Similar, I guess, profile. Actually, Richard, on the contrary, is quite technically savvy, but he's not too much of a people's person. The problem with Richard is, or I wouldn't say problem, I would say challenge, is that he is someone who likes to operate more remotely and does not like to engage, in a person-to-person conversation. So naturally, as you can see, from what I was hinting earlier, Richard always struggles for business. And that, my friends, is the reality of today. And the modern world is there. A lot of chartered accountancy practices, I suppose, they rest on their laurels of or past relationships, and if businesses have been with them for let's say over decades, they would assume that the likelihood of them changing accountants, for that matter, is very less. Uh, but on the contrary, it just so happens that if a client feels that they're not heard, or they're not listened to, in this case, they would obviously look for other options. So going back to our main topic, there are many benefits of active listening. To begin with, it builds very deep trust. So as you cultivate the habit of listening sincerely, people generally open up, and they can sense that you are not going to jump to conclusions. They also realize that they have enough care from you. And then once they feel that they have your full attention, that's when they open up. And while obviously building trust will take time, it's a great benefit to at least form a long-term relationship and friendship to begin with, which was the case in Dom and my relationship. When we started about a decade back, it just so happened that it turned out to be a great friend, and he never had to ask for business. I just kept giving business because that I felt that he understood me, and he listened to my the needs. Second is, it will also help you broaden your perspective. Now, this, ladies and gentlemen, is very, very important. Sometimes in life, your own perspective is not the complete truth. I have a very good friend in the US. He's a VC, he's an investor, and he always tells me about this story of these four young entrepreneurs he met a while back. And him being the VC and him following a thesis, and the sort of his own perspective on how or what projects he would likely invest in. He met them, all these four guys. He asked them, so fine, you've got this MVP. You built this, while you were working part time. What is your plans from here on? So the four of them looked at each other and they said, well, we will continue on our journey exactly the way we are now. We'll continue working and we'll keep building our product and the company. Now, this did not sit very well with my mate, and he said, against his gut feeling, he decided that no, that's my perspective is that any business where the founders are going to not be working full time, and they don't have that kind of commitment, and they always have a plan B, is bound to fail. So he decided not to invest in that company, and that company that I'm talking about is called Warby Parker, and Warby Parker is now about 3-4. I think from last what I heard, it was in few billions. So, and he always says that it was my own sort of shortfall or inability to change my perspective or to listen through. So he said that when they were telling me that they will continue on their journey or they will continue building the product like this, in actuality, they were telling me that they are quite committed. It's just that that business needed only that much of time. But because his perspective was, or he had already this preconceived notion that anyone who's not fully committed, or he has not given up his full-time jobs or taken that kind of a risk, is likely to not succeed. So listening to other people's perspective allows you to also look at life and projects and sometimes decisions in a different perspective, and may not have been thought of before. It also helps you strengthen your patience. Patience, as we all know, is a virtue, very famously so. So ability to be a good listener takes time, and you need to develop it with regular efforts over time. But as you gradually get better and better at listening, an automatic benefit also is that you become more patient. And patience, as we all know, is where the other person expresses his or her feelings and thoughts more honestly, while you don't pass judgment. It also makes you very approachable. So when you are a good listener, people they just open naturally to you, and they're naturally inclined to communicate. We all know, we've all heard of all these people. They always have this sort of famous personalities, who and quite more often than not, is all these interviewers and famous talk show hosts, where some of them are so good at some are just they do the shows just for the value or the for the audience, for the entertainment aspect. But a lot of them, they actually want to have very engaging relationship and a long lasting sort of relationship with all these people that they interview, and they really are able to dig deep and get them to open up. And we've all seen that over many talk shows. So it just it increases your competence, it increases your knowledge. The great listening skills also makes makes you more competent and capable, regardless of what is it that you do. Now, the more an individual can get information out of the meetings, obviously, the better the reporting, the better the instructions, the better the decision making, and it makes the entire process very successful. So, listening naturally builds your knowledge and helps uh, to fulfill work requirements through naturally perspective listening. One more benefit is it saves time and money. We all know that effective listening can only reduce risks and misunderstanding and mistakes, which means obviously your business and you end up saving time and money by avoiding some very costly mistakes. And finally, it helps detect and solve problems. So as a leader, should always be attentive, to even what your team says. So if you are a practice owner, it's very important that you listen to your reporting accountants or employees who is working in your office, and they are the first ones actually to spot the flaws, and they can come up with a suggestion. So having that kind of a culture in a top down manner, where you are a good listener, obviously your employees will follow the suit and they'll become better listeners, and that way your overall business will then be perceived very differently by your clients and potential clients naturally. So that brings us to a very important question: that what makes a good listener? So a good listener is someone who very actively endeavors or tries to understand what the other person's saying. Now, listening, it involves not only the effort of the verbal messaging, it also involves reading the non-verbal cues. And I'll come to that very quickly, which obviously includes facial expressions and physical posturing and whatever not. But effective listeners always make sure that they let the other person know that they are listening attentively and that they are being heard. So that's also very important. So it's not really important for you to gather information when someone else is speaking. It's important to also reciprocate and let the other person know that you get them, that you get what the other person is saying, and that is a beautiful sort of a dance. And once you learn I suppose the art, it's beautiful in terms of what kind of results it can bear. So there is obviously listening and versus hearing. So let's have a very quick understanding of how these two differ. So hearing, as we all know, it's accidental, it's involuntary, and it is effortless. So hearing is basically, I'm sitting in this room, I can hear the air conditioning, I can hear the honking, I can hear some people walking around and construction going on. So that's obviously hearing. Once again, as I said, it's effortless. So I don't have to make an effort. I can listen to it without focusing on it. Whereas listening is focused, it's voluntary, and it's intentional. So let's talk about verbal and non-verbal signs of active listening. So it's a horrible feeling when you're talking to someone and that other person realizes that you are not listening. So there are some very simple steps that you can take to let the speaker know that you are actively listening. Let's start with some non-verbal cues. So the first one that is my personal favorite is smiling. So obviously, when you smile or small smiles, not to overdo it. It can be used to show the listener that you are paying attention. what is being said, or combined with nods or movement of heads and smile. It can be powerful way of that combination to affirm that the message is being listened to. Eye contact, I guess eye contact is something, it's extremely efficient. It is normal and usually encouraging for the listeners to look at the speaker. Make sure you make eye contact. I know a lot of cultural barriers, or making eye contact probably is something not celebrated. But especially when you're dealing with clients, and as I was talking to some of you before, that the more and more international clients you are dealing with, and when I say international, even of Indian origin, but who have worked international or who got business internationally, they would prefer eye contact, because that's a very important aspect of building trust. Actually, in some cultures, especially in the West, if you don't look a person in the eye, and it's considered that they're trying to hide. Even in Indian culture, we like eye contact. So it's important that you combine eye contact with smile and other nonverbal gestures, like I said, a gentle nodding once in a while to say that, communicate that, yes, I'm listening to you. Posture, so when you are talking to someone, when you lean in and you gently, or you sit diagonally and use your hand or slight slant of the head, and you're looking at them with focus, that also exhibits that you are listening. Very important is distraction. Now, I have been in meetings where when I'm talking, or someone else is talking and I'm participating, and people just look at their phones, or people are just toying around with something, which is just very, very unprofessional and very frustrating, and actually it's quite demeaning to your profession. So I would it's very obvious to state that please don't do that while you are, or you're trying to exhibit interest or trying to exhibit listening. Now, verbal signs. So we spoke about non-verbal, which is your body language and posturing. Verbal signs is positive reinforcement. So basically, once in a while, you can say, yes, great, thanks, I'm listening, or indeed, or very good. So occasionally using those words, but not overdoing it. Don't just keep saying it or parroting it, just because they'll know that, okay, this guy is just, or this lady is just giving me lip service, that they're not listening. Remembering, try and remember key points of the conversation. Some very, very famous business leaders and world leaders, they are so good at remembering your names. In some cultures, people think, oh, if you remember some person's name, they think, oh, you are not important. Contrary to that, in business world, and even in today's times, remembering a person's name is very, very important, and people might take an offense if you don't remember the names correctly. And also the key points that have been discussed in the meeting, at the beginning of the meeting. So remembering those details, during the meeting, what the speaker is talking is important. Questioning, very, very powerful. Once again, the listener can demonstrate. So if you are talking, or sorry, you are listening, you can demonstrate that you are listening by asking questions. So if you don't understand something, you can say, can you please repeat the last part? I sort of didn't get it, or let's just step back and, run me through the whole scenario again. Seeking clarification. So asking questions once again, asking them to clarify certain points, and open-ended questions. It's a great way of showing, letting the person know that you're listening actively. So that everyone's got a different style. Yes. So there are four different styles of listening. One is people-oriented. So people-oriented style is where the listener is interested in the speaker. Obviously, they listen to the message in order to learn what the speaker thinks. And so, for example, for a people-oriented listener would be they listen to so let's say there is an interview going on of a famous actor, and if I'm a people-oriented listener, then I would be listening to the interview, but my interest would be more around finding out what the actor is as a person versus what sort of famous sort of acting or famous movies he has done or she has done. So I'm more interested in finding out about a person. So that's my being a people-oriented listener. action or task oriented. So if you're an action or task oriented listener, you are primarily interested in finding what the speaker wants. So does the speaker want votes? They want donations, they want volunteering, they want money. What is it they want? So sometimes, action oriented speakers, they listen through the descriptions and, etc. And they build their case based on that. Okay, this is what this person wants. So they build that perception. So that's action oriented. And content oriented. So content oriented listeners are interested in the message itself, whether it makes sense or not, or what it means and whether it is accurate. And they want to listen to a well-developed, so they gather well-developed information, sort of through the content. So they derive that information from the content. So they will focus on the content. The last kind is the time bound listening style. Now, these are the kind of people who are very time orientated. So when you are talking, they would say, okay, come to the point. Or they would sort of, in a way become impatient, or sometimes they can be rude and they say, okay, let's get to the point. So, and this 4 styles, if you look at famous leaders, presidents, prime ministers, and CEOs, they have all these 4 styles. So when in certain situations, they will be very people orientated. So they when they are obviously talking to their let's say the assembly or the Senate or gathering of ministers, they probably be more orientated. They're task orientated when they are on a mission. They would be content orientated when they are listening or they've been given a brief. And they also can be curt and time bound or time orientated when they are being given certain kind of a problem, and they'll just say, okay, get to the point. So it's a beautiful way of understanding what sort of listening style you want to adapt. And all 4 of them can be used in combinations as well. So some of the examples of questions and statements that you can use while you are listening actively. One is paraphrasing. So paraphrasing is when you repeat what the person is saying. So for example, if you are meeting someone who wants to open a school or college, you can say, so you want to build this new school. Can you tell me what is the difference between the one that you built before? So repeating what they said, they are presented, and paraphrasing it is a great way of showing or asking questions. Brief verbal affirmation. So saying things like, I appreciate the time you've taken to speak to me. That also shows great respect for the speaker and that you are listening actively. Open-ended questions. So I understand you are not happy with what I've proposed. What changes can we make? Or I understand that you want to leave our firm and you're not happy. And what would you suggest? What would we change about our practice, for example? Not everyone who's leaving is a bad deal. Sometimes, they can give you a lot of valuable feedback and information, and you can use that to turn your business around. Asking specific questions. So asking very specifically, how many employees did you, hire last year, or what sort of money you spent on such and such. That can be specific. Mentioning similar situation. So things like, I was in a situation, or I had a similar client, and without naming names of the client, and you can talk about drawing parallels and comparison. You can summarize questions. So you can say, okay, from what I heard today, and then you can summarize the whole conversation. So that will impress them massively. That the speaker will understand that, yes, great, my chartered accountant or my company secretary, what the case is, they've really listened to what I said today. You can always take notes while someone is talking. That's a great way, scribble your own notes. It will show them that you really treat what they say as important. And secondly, it will also help you summarize it at the end of it. If you're not good at just running it off your memory. Notice what people are when they're speaking. Always, let them know that if there is few people that are in a meeting, if you hear only one person speaking, invite the other people to participate as well. So that's a great way of being an active listener, because you want perspective. And in the end, once again, I would suggest that a great summarizing always is very powerful to let people know that you listen. I'm quickly going to touch on some of the barriers to effective listening. So one is, I think we touched upon it, but one is noise. Now, noise can be physical, it can be psychological. There are things going on in everyone's lives, and like today we had this whole thing about internet, etc. But we have to sometimes shut that noise down, and you have to get along with the program and get on with life. And more importantly, in your case, you have to get on with your practice, or what is it that whatever it is that you do as an accountant. So that is a very important part of become an active listener, is to be able to control the noise. The second is attention span. This is very true in today's time and date. I've noticed, and I'm quite, I would say we can generalize this. People are now more accustomed to looking at their mobiles or checking out, social media or WhatsApp or YouTube videos. So that's one sort of one of the reasons why the attention spans are now shortened. So everyone's got a finite length of time that they can focus. So many people, whilst they've lost their attention, there is ways where you can actually train yourself to become more attentive, and you can pause whatever it is that is bothering you or taking your attention away, and try and focus on the the speaker. Receiver bias. So before a person has finished their sentence or presentation or statement, just don't, sometimes your inner voice goes, I don't need to listen because I've already know this. That's the worst way of worst thing that a person can do, because you don't know what the other person's going to say at the very end of it. I had a very specific example. So where, for example, Arif is working in a butcher shop. He's 5'6" tall, and he weighs 82 kg. Sorry, he's white hair. He's got such and such body type. And finally, the person says, how much does he weigh, or what does he weigh? And there are a lot of people who started doing calculations in terms of, what would we weigh? This is some kind of a trick question. The only answer to that was, because he works in a butcher shop, he weighs meat. So the times, you need to look at the details. You need to make your own judgment based on the information that you've gathered, and just not think of the obvious. So just remove the receiver, the listener's bias. And the last is listening apprehension. So listening, sometimes fear that you might be unable to understand the message, or the process of information. You might not be able to process the information correctly. That kind of apprehension or fear would be a reason which makes you stop listening to the person, and you are then obviously unable to understand them fully, and then it leads to a lot of mistakes. So if you want to become an effective listener and improve your listening skills, I would just give you some quick tips. Face the speaker, maintain eye contact. So talking to someone while they look at the computers, or looking around, or gazing out of the window, is like trying to hit a moving target. So even if you're if a person's giving you 50% attention or 5% attention, instead of making all that assumption, it's important that you face them, you make eye contact, so that you are forcing the other person to sort of also give you that respect. Sorry, did someone say something? No? Okay, I'll continue. In most Western cultures, once again, as I said, eye contact is considered the basic ingredient of effective communication. So when we talk, we have to look at the person's eye. Put aside papers. Leave your phones if you can on silent, or put them aside. Try not look at your computers, or maybe walk away. A very famous and successful businessman that sort of I met a while ago, Larry. He always insisted that most of his important meetings he would do them away from office, in a cafe or in a meeting room where there is no distractions, and he would make sure that all his team were asked to leave their mobile phones outside. So he would, put trays out and make sure that they leave their phones outside. I think what I've learned is, our famous Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, also does the same. So that's I think it's a very important way of letting people know that your time is important as well as their time. So it's a great way. Be attentive and relax. So give the speaker your undivided attention. So maintain eye contact with the speaker. Direct yourself toward the speaker. So look at them, pay attention of what they said, put aside distracting thoughts. These are some of the tips I would say would bode well in you becoming an active listener. And very importantly, I would say keep an open mind. As soon as you start being judgmental, or as soon as if someone is saying or telling you about their problems with the business or the personal lives, and you starting making a judgment that here we go, this person's here for business, or he's taking my time, I'm the chartered accountant, or and I don't have time for this. That immediately means you are shutting off your mind. Then sooner or later the person will know that I had a very I'm not going to name names. I had an accountant. The moment I would send him an email, and the moment I would call him, he would say, and I'll excuse me for using this phrase, but he would say, "Sharad ji, aapke liye kuch bhi." Like it make you feel special. But outside of that and beyond that, there was nothing. And I had to. There are times when he would put some business under, instead of putting it under the trust, he would put it under individuals, and it just, he did some shocking job. But he initially would make me feel like $1 million. He would treat me so well, verbally, and when you are in the office, etc. But that sooner or later, that sort of wears off, and just the same, your client is also an intelligent human being. He's going to, or she's going to figure out that this is just all talk, and there is nothing underneath that. So listen without jumping to conclusions. Don't interrupt before someone has finished talking. And remember, the speaker is using language to represent the thoughts and feelings inside of her or his brain. So you don't know what their thoughts and feelings are. The only way you'll find out is by listening carefully. And in the end, I would say that ask questions to clarify what they are saying. So if you don't understand, ask questions. When you don't understand something, of course, you should ask the speaker to explain it. Once again, ask questions and summarize your understanding. So once you've asked questions, someone's told you, summarize it and say, so from what I understand, or from what I gather, or thank you for telling me, so I believe this is what you're trying to say. Something to summarize it and let the other person know that you understood. And if not, then they can fill in the gaps. And try to feel what the speaker is feeling. So that's in a classic NLP way. That's a fantastic way of connecting with them. I'm not saying you start crying if someone's crying, but connecting in the true manner. Try and feel what they're saying. Empathy is a great tool, and it gives an amazing experience. And given the speaker, give them regular feedback. So let them know, occasionally by paraphrasing, or letting them know that's good idea, or great, I heard that, and giving those kind of verbal cues as well. And finally, just pay attention to the non-verbal cues. I'm just going to end this with a couple of things, because obviously, one, I'm going to tell you about what, initially in the introduction. So naturally, we all know that there in the last 3 months, or 3 to 6 months, 6 to 3 months, sorry, 6 months, we've known that there's ChatGPT, as which obviously was many years making, has now become a real thing. Artificial intelligence is taking over. It's taking across industries, and it is doing some fantastic work. On the flip side, obviously, it's posing a lot of questions, anxiety, threats, and so on and so forth, of how many industries, how many jobs are going to be affected and impacted. We use our platform is naturally using artificial intelligence to make learning more effective, more impactful, and more retainable, so that people can transfer it to actual situations. As chartered accountants, I believe active listening is very, very important. And with change of, or with the advent of AI and AI becoming mainstream and democratic, once it get democratized, people skills will become very, very important. It is one thing that I guess you as a business owner or businessman or employee or employer in which wherever you fit in, anything and everything that you can do to train yourself to become a good listener, an active listener, and then train others, because you can then you will have this ability to quickly pick up those cues. I think that will build a fantastic culture within your business or business unit, which obviously will transcend into great customer experience and long sticky relationships. Finally, I read long back, an autobiography of great Nelson Mandela, and one of the interviewers asked him that people generally, get incarcerated for 6 years, 10 years, whatever years, then they come out and they lose path, and it takes them a long time to even find some kind of purpose in life. You came out of incarceration after 20 plus years, 25 years or 23, well, whatever the case was, and you became not only leader of Africa or South Africa, you became world leader. What is your one secret? And he looks at the interviewer and he says, my father was a chieftain. He was a tribal chief, and all this tribal chief around there would come and meet his father once every month or once every fortnight. And he said, I learned this skill from my father, that he would pay attention to what everyone was saying. The only time he would interrupt is to ask question if he has not understood something. And he would always be the last person in the room to speak. And that is a skill that he said he acquired, he practiced. And that's why if you read about him and, you look him up, he says that he was a leader who would listen. And because he would listen, people really, really opened up to him, they respected him. And then obviously he became larger than life leader. With that, I guess I will end my session. I thank you very, very sincerely for bearing with me and my technical issues today. I'm sorry I couldn't share the screen, but I hope you've gained a little bit of insight and value from what I've spoken here today. Thank you. Well, we'll open for questions, if please.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of the our members and the CP committee, I really thanks to you. Sir, we have one query from among the listeners. What we practice can be adopted in daily routine to improve active listening? One thing. And another is that how to make self-assessment whether active listening is improving or not.
Okay, great question. So in daily life, I would recommend, and this is purely my how should I put it? This is something that I have started doing. And this is very true, is meditating. I would say, and I know it's little outside the box and, not the great best platform, but it helps because it helps you to become patient, or it helps me, I would say, to become more it calms me down. It makes me more patient. It makes me more tolerant to what others are saying. And sometimes self-analysis or introspection is a great way of removing your bias. So that's one. Second, a quick tip would be making eye contact and taking notes. So taking notes is a great way of, especially if someone like me who struggles with, that short attention span and, with so many distractions, I always take notes. And when I rattle them off and summarize it, it has some tremendous value to it. So that's second. And sorry, the second question, can you please repeat?
How to make self-assessment whether active listening is improving?
Oh, yeah, that's very, look, as I said, if you read those cues in a person, so when you start talking to people and when people, you will notice that when people are opening up to you more and people, sort of um, talk to you at length and dig deeper, have more meaningful conversations, you will realize that now the active listening part is working. If you are a business, then I guess the one way you can do that is also taking feedback from your employees or your team, and that's a great 360-degree or a way of finding out whether something that you are doing is really working. So in terms of that, I guess there are various different activities and exercises that you can do to improve active listening. Obviously, with shortness of time, I think, I'll let you do a little bit of reading. But having being able to have long engaging conversations is a great way of knowing that, yes, now active listening is working. So it's a two-way street. Yes.
Thank you, sir. That is very typical and very interesting subject. I think, say, with your words only. And on behalf of my co-moderator Mohit Tandon ji, the CP committee, the ICI, and the members of the ICI, and from my core of heart, we say thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us on very typical subject matter. And since you already updated the active listening skills is not easy, it is being developed over the time. So what you updated today, we'll try to connect with in our day-to-day routines. So first of all, we thank you, sir, and my co-moderator Moitanjan is here. So I'm thankful to him also, sir. He take the first charge in my absence. Further, I'm thankful again to the CP committee to organizing such a very interesting, very knowledgeable two sessions. First on the INDS and second one on the active listening. So very thankful to the CP committee secretary who take all the charge, all the initiative in a very short span. And with these words, I just handed over to Ajit Nasser.
From on behalf of chairman sir in his absence of Purushottam Khandelwal sir, because he could not join due to some meetings back to back. So again, I would like to extend sincere thanks to first of all the participants. I would like to say for staying so long for 2 hours and listening. And of course, Jayesh Patel ji, Ashish Pathak ji in his absentia, and Satish ji and Mohit ji for moderating this event, because today there were some technical glitches also. Anyhow, we have managed very well. So kudos to you, both of you, and Jay ji
Thank you,
to
sir.
you also, because such a drastic situation you handled so well. Thank you so much, Jay ji, Mohit ji, Satish ji, and to all the participants, entire CB committee official team. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.